A journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. That was the sentence written in blue ink on the first page of Amara's old leather journal. She did not write it on a mountaintop. She did not write it in a moment of triumph. She wrote it on the floor of her bedroom, back against the bed, tears drying on her cheeks after realizing that the life she had carefully built had quietly fallen apart. The day everything shifted. The email came at 2:17 p.m. We regret to inform you... Amara had read enough formal correspondence to know what those words meant before finishing the sentence. Her contract would not be renewed. Budget cuts or organizational restructuring, the usual polished language that wrapped disappointment in corporate courtesy. She stared at the screen long after it dimmed. This job had been her stability, her proof that she was responsible, capable, successful. It paid her rent, supported her younger brother's tuition, and gave her a reason to wake up with direction. And just like that, it was gone. That evening, she walked home instead of taking a cab. The city noise felt distant. Her phone buzzed twice, friends checking in. But she ignored it. At home, she sat on the floor. The silence felt heavy. Losing a job is not only about money, it is about identity. Who was she without it? She reached for her journal, the one she hadn't touched in months, and wrote, "A journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step." It felt almost insulting. What journey? She didn't even know where she was going. The weight of standing still. The next week was worse than the first. Applications were sent, no responses. Savings were calculated, not enough. Her mother called and spoke gently, but even kindness felt like pressure. "You've always been strong, Amara," her mother said. This is just a season. But Amara did not feel strong. She felt stuck. There is a peculiar paralysis that comes when life does not go as planned. You replay conversations. You wonder what you could have done differently. You measure yourself against others who seem to be moving forward. Scrolling through social media did not help. Engagement photos, promotions, travel pictures. Everyone else was walking confidently into their 1,000 miles. She was barefoot, uncertain and still. One night, unable to sleep, she flipped through her old journal entries. She had once written about wanting to start a small community center for teenage girls, mentoring, tutoring, teaching life skills. She had circled the dream. She had written someday. Someday had always been safely distant. Now, unexpectedly, she had time. The first step is often invisible. The first step did not look dramatic. It looked like a phone call. She called Mrs. Adeyemi, her former secondary school teacher, who now ran a small after-school program in the neighborhood. "I know this is random," Amara began, trying to steady her voice. "But do you need volunteers?" There was a pause. "Yes," Mrs. Adeyemi said warmly. "We always need volunteers." The following Monday, Amara walked into a small classroom filled with 15 girls between the ages of 12 and 16. The room smelled faintly of chalk and disinfectant. The whiteboard had motivational quotes written in colorful markers. The girls looked at her curiously. She felt unqualified. She had no curriculum, no formal plan. But she had experience. She had grown up navigating confusion, pressure, and quiet self-doubt. She had learned lessons the hard way. That day, she asked the girls one question. "What do you wish someone had told you at your age?" At first, there was silence. Then, hands slowly began to rise. Not everyone who says they love you actually does. You don't have to date someone just because your friends are. It's okay to say no. As they spoke, Amara realized something profound. She was not starting from zero. She was starting from experience. The first step was not opening a center, it was showing up. The long road of uncertainty. Weeks turned into months. Amara continued volunteering. She created simple lesson plans. She read books on mentorship and trauma-informed care. She attended free online webinars. She was not earning money, but she was gaining clarity. Still, bills do not pause for purpose. One afternoon, her landlord knocked gently. "I'll need the rent for the end of the week." Her savings were almost gone. Purpose feels noble until reality interrupts. That evening, doubt returned with force. Was this irresponsible? She wondered. Should I focus only on getting another job? She considered quitting the volunteer work, but then her phone buzzed. It was a message from one of the girls, Tola. "Thank you for today. I told my cousin what you said about boundaries. It helped." 3 simple sentences. That was the thing about journeys. Sometimes the confirmation for the next mile comes in whispers. She did not quit. Instead, she took another small step. She posted on social media, starting a mentorship circle for teenage girls, weekly sessions, free, limited spaces. She expected 5 responses. 30 messages came in within 2 days. Growth is not linear. The mentorship circle began in a borrowed church hall. Plastic chairs, a fan that worked only sometimes, no fancy equipment. The first session was chaotic. Girls talked over each other. One cried halfway through, another walked out. Amara went home exhausted. This was harder than she imagined. Building something meaningful is rarely romantic. She began learning more intentionally about trauma, the way it hides in behavior, silence, aggression, perfectionism. She realized some of the girls carried invisible wounds, and if she was honest, so did she. One night, after a particularly heavy session, she sat in her chair and cried, not because she wanted to quit, but because she understood now. This was not just about mentoring others, it was about healing herself, her own fears of inadequacy, her own need for validation, her own unresolved grief from years of feeling unseen. The 1,000 miles were not only external, they were internal. When the step feels too small. 6 months after losing her job, Amara still did not have full-time employment. She worked freelance projects. She tutored part-time. It was enough to survive, not thrive. Her peers were climbing corporate ladders. She was setting up plastic chairs. Comparison is a thief. There were days she felt foolish. One afternoon, she met her former colleague at a cafe. "You are still doing that girl's thing?" he asked casually. "It's more than a thing," she replied quietly. He smiled politely. "You'll get back to real work." Real work? The words lingered. That evening, she nearly deleted her mentorship page. But before she did, she looked at the list of girls enrolled. 42 names, 42 stories, 42 possible futures. Was that not real? The journey of 1,000 miles does not always come with applause. Sometimes it comes with misunderstanding. She closed the app without deleting it. Another small step. The breakthrough nobody sees coming. A year after that, 2:17 p.m., an email, something unexpected happened. One of the parents, impressed by the impact on her daughter, mentioned the mentorship circle to a friend who worked at a local foundation. Amara received an email inviting her to submit a proposal for community funding. She laughed when she read it. A year ago, she had lost her job. Now she was being asked to formalize a vision she had once scribbled under someday. The proposal took weeks. She doubted every paragraph. but she submitted it. 3 months later, she received the call. The foundation will fund a pilot program. It was not millions. It was not glamorous. But it was enough to rent a small permanent space, buy materials, offer modest stipends for facilitators. The day she signed the agreement, she opened her journal to that first page. A journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. She understood it differently now. The single step is rarely heroic. It is making a phone call, showing up unprepared, posting an invitation, refusing to quit, choosing to try again. The quiet transformation. 5 years later, the mentorship circle had grown into a small foundation. They offered emotional resilience workshops, academic tutoring, counseling referrals, parent seminars. The once borrowed church hall was replaced with a modest but vibrant center painted in soft yellow. On the wall near the entrance, framed in blue ink, was the sentence from her journal. Amara often thought about how different her life looked from what she had planned. She had not climbed a corporate ladder. She had built a bridge instead. But the deeper transformation was not the building. It was her. She no longer feared starting small. She no longer equated visibility with value. She no longer waited for perfect conditions. She had learned something crucial. Momentum is born from movement, not certainty. The unexpected full circle. One afternoon, a young woman walked into the center. She looked familiar. Taller, Amara asked, surprised. The once shy 13-year-old now stood tall, confident. I just got into university, Tola said, smiling. I want to volunteer here. Amara felt tears rise. You helped me find my voice, Tola continued. I want to help someone else find theirs. That was the moment Amara understood the real distance she had traveled. Not measured in kilometers, measured in courage, measured in lives touched, measured in cycles broken. The 1,000 miles were never about achievement, they were about alignment. The truth about the first step. Looking back, Amara realized something powerful. The first step did not remove fear. It did not guarantee success. It did not clarify the entire path. It simply shifted her from passive to active, from waiting to moving, from wishing to doing. Every journey, whether towards healing, purpose, reconciliation, or growth, begins with a decision that feels almost insignificant at the time. Applying for the job, making the apology, booking the therapy session, opening the journal, saying yes to volunteer. The first step is rarely dramatic, but it is decisive. And once again, something changes inside you. You begin to see yourself not as someone stuck, but as someone walking. Your turn. Years later, during a graduation ceremony for the girls in her program, Amara stood before a room filled with parents, mentors, and students. She told them her story. She did not exaggerate it. She spoke about fear, doubt, financial strain, comparison, loneliness. Then she said, I did not know where this road would lead. I only knew that staying still was slowly shrinking me. So I took one step, then another, then another. She looked at the young faces before her. You don't have to see the whole path. You just have to move. Silence filled the room, then applause. But what mattered more was not the sound. It was the understanding settling in their hearts. The 1,000 miles ahead of them were not meant to intimidate. They were meant to invite. The unfinished journey. Amara still keeps the journal. The ink has faded slightly, but the words remain. Her journey is not finished. New challenges come, new fears arise, Expansion brings complexity, but she no longer fears the distance because she knows the secret now. The power was never in the miles, it was always in the step. And if you are standing at the beginning of your own uncertain road, heart pounding, vision unclear, doubts loud, remember this: you do not need perfect clarity. You do not need guaranteed outcomes. You do not need applause. You need one brave decision, one small act of movement, one step. Because somewhere beyond what you can currently see, beyond the fear, beyond the waiting, beyond the hesitation, there is a version of you stronger, wiser, and more aligned than you have ever imagined. And they are waiting for you to begin. If you found this story inspiring, type "I begin" or "keep moving." I keep moving in the comments to show you agree. Don't forget to subscribe. I remain Olubumi Adewale Babatunde. Have a blessed day, people. So, jokes apart, what is that thing you know you should have started? What is that thing that has been laid on your heart time and time again, and yet you just can't start? You need to start. Even small steps matter a lot. One simple step. Make the effort. Push yourself. Please do it for the sake of yourself and the sake of so many others who will depend on you. Trust me, making this video was a push. It was a very tough one. So, before you leave me here, please like, subscribe, and leave a comment. If you're starting afresh, please write something there that just may inspire someone else. And of course, I'm going to read it and respond. Thank you, people.